Hi everyone, so welcome to this final tutorial for BSTF05 class. Let me start again with writing a libname statement, and today we are going to work with Proc SQL. So libname BSTF05, and let me just run the path to tell SAS where to access my data. So let me see if it was created successfully. Yes, perfect. So let me just tell you that Proc SQL is used very often. It's a very common language. I mean SQL itself, and in SAS you can use SQL by running the Proc SQL statement. And we're gonna start. So the simplest thing is going to be choosing variables from the data set. So let's go for it. You start with Proc SQL, and this is a sandwich, so you will always finish it with quit. And in between you will be typing your code. And pretty much you will have two things to say: select and from. So select, if you're just selecting variables, you're working with, like you're telling SAS to select specific variables, and then you will tell it from which data set. That's how it works. Select customer underscore ID, then order underscore ID, then order underscore type, then quantity. After that we'll have total underscore retail underscore price, and cost price underscore per underscore unit, and then from, we already have it here, BSTF05 dot order underscore fact, semicolon. So you can see that you only put the semicolon at the end of your statement, almost before, just before the quit statement. That's it. So let's see what we have as our output, and we have the full data set with only selected variables from the order fact. The ones, there are only the variables we asked SAS to select. So imagine you want to select all of the variables. So selecting all variables. This is also very easy. You will go for Proc SQL, and then again you will say select, but instead of enumerating all of the variables, you will pretty much just use an asterisk, and you will say select this asterisk from BSTF05 dot order underscore fact, and quit again. So let's see, and now we're going to see the full data set. So let me show. Yeah, so now our data set is huge. So right now, guys, we are not creating anything new. We're just generating reports using these different variables. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new variable. So just, for convenience, I will copy, and I will say adding a new variable from the data set. So we have all of these: customer ID, order type, quantity, total retail price, cost price per unit. And we could also generate a variable that is called profit, and yes, it will be based on the quantity and total retail price and cost price per unit. So let's do it. Quantity multiplied by total underscore retail underscore price minus cost price underscore per underscore unit. And let me just close these brackets. I will have to say that I want the new variable to be called profit, so I will say as profit. And if I would like to add some format to this variable to make it look as a dollar, like with a dollar sign, I will say format equals $10.2, our regular format that we use in SAS typically. And let me just move here. So also, if I want to create to call it in some other way, when I'm generating the report, I can actually create a label and I can call it value. So this is like your extended proc print statement, but it's written in a little bit different way. F3. And let me show you what we have here. and we have our value added to this data set, which is pretty cool, don't you think so? So that's how you can add a new variable, and I think this is amazing actually. So now, after we have done it, let's also, you know, create not so much a new table, but let's sum this variable per customer ID. So let's sum that profit per customer. Remember how we were doing it before, right? Using like either proc means statement and then use the customer ID as class, or how we had to actually proc sort it and then activate the variable, let's say customer ID, right? Proc sort it by customer ID and then activate the customer ID, and then use if first if last statements. Now we are just gonna do it in a very, very simple way. Let me just show it to you. So summing values per customer ID. So let me just do it. I'm gonna show you this done in a different way. So let me just run a data step first, okay? So I'm gonna do it this way. Give me 1 second. Data, I will call it val. Set BASE 5, and then let me just call it order fact, and I will create a data set, a variable called value equals, and then our quantity multiplied by total underscore retail underscore price minus cost price per unit, and run. So that's pretty much all we have to do now. Now we have this new variable, it's called value in the dataset that is called val, and I'm gonna use it to sum this value in the Proc SQL dataset by customer ID. Okay, so let's go for it and let's use our Proc SQL. And again, we'll have select customer underscore ID, comma, and then sum value as total value. Sorry, somehow I added 2 brackets, as total value from val, and group it all by customer ID, and quit. Perfect, so now we have total value per customer ID. You can see how easy it was, right? So you didn't have to go like all the way. We could also use you know, like we could select more variables, but even like this is cool. So now let's also imagine that we have this value, but we would actually like to classify our customers into 3 groups. We would like to create 3 bins. In one bin we would have customers whose value exceeds you know, our, okay, so we will have the low, the medium, and the high bins. And for that, let's run proc means. Okay, so classifying customers. I'm gonna show you first of all that how to, you know, create those bins. Let's see what conditions we have to set first, right? So proc means data equals val. We're going to run that one, and we do not want to run a lot of stuff. Only we have to go for the var called value. So we want just to create to see the mean, especially the minimum and the maximum of the variable value. Okay, so that's all we want to do. Let me just see the output. We have our minimum of $1.50 and a maximum of 6,758. So now these are the extreme values, but now let's set the conditions. So setting the conditions, bin 1, it will be the customers that make that bring to the company from $1.50 and less than 500. So bin 2 will be customers that bring from 500 and greater and up to 3,500. And then we'll have bin 3. We'll have customers that make from 3,500 and but less than the maximum value. So like this. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And every one in bin 1 will be called low, here medium, and here high. So let's go and let's do it. Again, Proc SQL, select customer ID, order ID, order type, and let's call it type, you know, just for the sake of space when we are typing something, label type, comma. Maybe I should just place it here. Okay, let me just do it this way. And now let's continue. Quantity, then total retail price, actually maybe it's not relevant anymore, I guess. Okay, so let's not include this. Let's just keep, you know, the customer ID, order ID, and value for sure. And also now we have to set our conditions. So case, this is our something like if statement. When is like then. Okay, so if then. So that's what you do in Proc SQL. Case when blah blah. So case when value is less than 500, then low. When value is less than 3,500, then medium. And when value is less than let's say 6,058, then high. And then we'll also have else other, and as profit. So this is the new variable we are creating from the data set called val. Quit. And that's what we are creating. So again, we are binning the variable. We're creating a new variable called profit that should have 3 main components and also maybe other, in case we have a missing value or something else. So let's see what if it works or not. Okay. So we only have 4 columns, and we have a profit classified as low sometimes, and medium as well. You know, so this one is like over 500, but less than 3,500. And we may also have some high, yes, high values, and so on. So this is how it works. Okay. Now let's continue. Not there, but there. You see that instead of using the if statement, you will use case when then, case when then, and then when then, when then, when then. Those semicolons are pretty rare here, which is fine, you know. Okay, so now we would also like to sort the profit per customer. So let's do this, and let's use it in Proc SQL. Okay, so sorting the profit per customer. Again, it's going to be super simple. You're going to see. Let's go. Proc SQL. Select, let's say, customer ID, order date, maybe. Though even order date actually is irrelevant, so we're not going to use it. And value from val, that's our data set, and order by customer underscore ID, value descending, and quit. Okay, so let's check if it worked or not. So we have here our customer ID and we have our value, and now we have everything ordered per customer, per their ID, and you can see that customer 4, for example, is repeated many times. But what is cool here is that the value now is actually arranged in a descending order. So it starts with the highest value, and then it goes, it diminishes from a customer from one iteration to another one. We could also add, for example, here order date, order underscore date, and we would also see when they brought us that amount of money. So that customers, like the highest revenue they brought us, or profit actually, they brought us on the 8th of April 2004, and so on. So we can analyze the structure, and we can see which time even was most profitable for us, like which period of time was the most profitable, and so on. So that's just to give you an idea that you can do pretty complex operations in Proc SQL, and in SAS that would have been a little bit more complicated than that. Okay, so let's create now a subset of a data set. What we're going to do now, we are actually going just to select only orders of type 1. That's it. So creating a subset, and let's go for it. So again, we'll start with Proc SQL, select customer underscore ID, order underscore ID, order underscore type, label equals type, then quantity, then total retail price, cost price per unit, and also value from val, where order type equals 1. And that's all you have to specify in your conditions, where order type equals 1. So pay attention that you have to set the condition at the end after you've selected the data set. So let's go. And now we should only see order type of 1 if we did everything properly. So you can see that we actually succeeded in this. Okay, so now let's imagine that we would like to ignore order type 1, but we would like to select order type 1 or 2 and 3. Order type equals 2 and 3. So that's what we are going to do. Selecting, yeah. Okay. Let's go again. Proc SQL. You should know this by now. So select, and let me just, guys, I'm tired of typing. So let me just, select these. Just copy them, and let's go for it. So again, we're choosing the same variables here, but now we have to say from where, from val. That's our data set, where order type. Now you have to specify the condition in 2, 3. So that's your condition, okay? And we can also ask SAS or Proc SQL to group them by order type, which is also a really cool thing that you can do in Proc SQL. So select something from this data set where set the condition, and if you have a few values, use the in statement, and group by what, if you want to group them by something. Okay, so let's check what we have as an output. And you see at the beginning we have all order type 2 and then all order type 3. And you see that actually we are sorting it by order type. And definitely if we had to do this in SAS, we would need to use proc sort, and then we would have to proc print it after we have proc sorted it. But in Proc SQL you can do everything in one statement, which is amazing. At least that's my opinion, but I think it's really great. It saves you a lot of time. So now let's also select customers whose value, total value, was greater than 1,000. Okay, so that means that we have to actually sum the value per customer, and we have after that to subset what we have our output where the total value per customer is greater than $1,000. So selecting only customers with total value greater than 1,000. And you see, this is pretty much a complex question, you know, that where in SAS you would have to do a lot of operations, right? So you would actually have to go into the data step to create the value variable, and you would have to run proc means, and then you would have to sort it maybe, or no, not sort it, but then you would have to go back and subset it, right? You would have to subset data set using that total value. So here we'll just go for Proc SQL, select, let's say, customer underscore ID, and again, sum value. That's how we want it to do, is total value. So create a variable called total value from val, the new data set, group by customer ID, having total value greater than 1,000, and quit. So you're asking to sum the value grouped by customer ID and create a new variable in this at this step, and then also all the customers should have the total value of 1,000. So definitely maybe you wouldn't have to stop, you know, there, but I mean you would still have to do a few steps in SAS, right? You would have to maybe sort it by the customer ID, and then you would have to use if first, if last, for example. You could do a lot of other things, but the point is you wouldn't be able to do it within one step. In Proc SQL you can do it in one step. So let's check it out. Now we only have one ID and we have our total value here, you know, which is, I think, which is great. And all of the customers who are here, their total value is greater than $1,000. Awesome. So it worked for us, and it was a pretty simple code, you know, that we had to write. It didn't take us long. We didn't have to go through a lot of steps, right? Okay, so now let's imagine that we would like to create a table. And pretty much we're not creating a new table. We would like to generate a report. So generate a report where total value is greater than 1,000, as we did before, and customer ID includes 201, 92, 11171, and 46966. So we're just kind of combining a few things in one step. Let's go. Proc SQL, select customer ID, sum value as total value. This we should know already. From val, group by customer ID. That's a very important statement. Having total value greater than 1,000 and customer ID in, and now we have just to enumerate these IDs. Quit. And that's it. So let's see how it works. Perfect. So this is what we have. It worked for every ID. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So in this case, perhaps all of them were on the list. So let's include maybe something else. Let's include 20 and let's see what happens. Okay, not a good thing. What about, let's just go back to the previous output. Not this one, but let's say where we just have everything summed by customer ID. Where did we have that sum? Here. Okay. So let me just see. Let me just find the ID where. Okay, 11. Perfect. So I'm gonna just add 11 because 20 is nice, but let me just add 11. Let's see what happens. 11 is not in the 1000, so you see it's not included. It's not included because it is the intersection. So we use OR. Okay. So now we have the list that has everybody who has greater than 1000 plus ID 11. So you know it depends on the operator you're using, and OR expands your data set and shortens it, because this is the intersection we are talking about. Okay, so now let's continue. And what we're going to do now, we're going to merge two data sets. Okay, so we're going to merge the data set that comes from the val data set. So we're going to merge the val data set and also the customer dim data set from SAS. Okay, so joining val and customer dim, because we know our IDs, but we do not know who stands behind those IDs. So Proc SQL, so let's imagine that somebody asks you like to provide the list of people with their addresses and other things. So you have to say v customer ID and v value, and then c customer country, c customer gender, c customer name, c customer age. So let's imagine that this is what we're asked for, and we'll say from value v, v, and bstf5 dot customer dim c. So we are kind of given nicknames to our data set instead of saying here value dot customer ID, and then you will just say value here, and bstf5 customer dim dot customer country. You can just nickname it by using c, and that shortens your coding time immensely. So where v customer underscore ID equals c customer underscore ID, and quit. Okay, perfect. So you can see here that we merged two data sets. Now we have the customer ID, we have the value, but we also have the information about the customer, the country, gender, name, and age. And that was exactly what we asked for. Okay, so that's merging in Proc SQL, which is really nice, right? You don't have to do much. You just have to code just a little bit. So now, guys, let's create a new table. To create a new table, it's actually super easy, and we're going to start with the first and primitive table that we can create. So creating a new data set. So before we were just generating the output, even though we were adding some new variables or something, we were always just printing them. We couldn't do anything else. We didn't know what the data set was called, you know, so that was just, you know, printing the results, and that's it. But now we are going to create actually a new data set. So Proc SQL, and we are going to create a new data set that we'll call customers. So create table. We'll call costs, for example, as, and you have to say which variables you would like to include. Let's include all from bstf5 customer underscore dim, and quit. So we are not setting any conditions yet. We're just creating the data set called costs. And you can see here that now we do not see any output yet, because we just created a data set, and that's what we managed to create, and that's it. So if you would like to see it, it would be something like proc SQL and select all from costs quit, and you would be able to print it, you know, and to see what it is you created, right? So this is now printing the data set for us, and that's great. But now let's also you know, so now what we could do, to remember at some point in our code we were creating these values, select, like we were creating bins, right? So now let's create a data set from these bins, and then let's run procfrag to see how many customers are into low, are bringing us some low value, how many customers are bringing us some high value, and so on. So we'll add here just one line, create table. We'll call it values, okay, value bins, okay, as, and then you will keep all the rest as is. Sorry. So now we have this new data set. It didn't print as an output, but what we can do now, we can actually run our procfrag. Data equals and value bins tables value. Sorry, profit. Run. So now we can see what it is that we have in our data set, and we can see here that we have 1.46% of heavy users, so customers that bring us most of the profit, and then most of the customers actually in the low, right? So they bring us low profit under $500, and there are some customers, like more than 10% of customers in the medium bin. So that's how you can actually combine, you know, the Proc SQL and also a SAS step. So let's continue, and let's now subset a data set when we are creating a new data set. So creating a new data set from a subset. So let's go for it. Isn't it fun? Proc SQL, and again create table US customers as, now as select, and we are selecting every variable from BSTF/5 customer underscore dim where customer underscore country equals US, and quit. Okay, so now we have only US customers. Yes, we do, which is great. Just US customers. And actually what we can do is this, we can go here and we can print it, right? Because let's imagine you have SAS BASE. How do you see it? You just run Proc SQL, select everything, and from US customers quit. You could also use proc print, that doesn't matter. Actually, I'm just trying to use Proc SQL, but you could also just use proc print, and that's it, you know, you're familiar with proc print. Another question that you may have is, can we add titles? And yes, you can. So title, US customers. As you can see here, we have our title here. Okay, you can also close it because titles are global statements, so the title will travel through the whole program, and every time you create some output, it will be added to that output unless you close your title statement. Okay, so now let's merge two data sets and let's create a new data set. Like before, when we were merging data sets or joining them, here, where were we doing it? Yeah, here we didn't create a new one. but now we're going actually to create a new data set. There we just printed a merged data set, that's it. But now let's do it. So merging two data sets to create a new one. Let's go. So again, Proc SQL, surprise, surprise, right? Proc SQL and create table. Let's call it cost val as select, and we're going to select a few things. Customer underscore ID as left ID, L value, comma, then our customer ID as right ID, comma, our customer country, comma, our customer underscore, sorry, I just switched off something, customer gender, comma, r dot customer underscore name, comma, r customer underscore age, from val as L inner join. So by inner join we mean that they have to have IDs, identical IDs in both data sets, and that's how they will merge, how these two data sets will be merged. So you know, let's say if you have in your left data set, if you have IDs 1, 2, 3, and in your right data set you have IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, you will actually have a data set that only has 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one from the right data set is going to be ignored. Inner join. So now BSTA 445 dot, okay, that's enough, customer underscore dim as r on L dot customer underscore ID equals r dot customer underscore ID, and that's it. Quit. So pretty much it doesn't mean that you have to have the values, the variables that have identical names. They don't have to have identical names. You just have to say that they equal to each other. They represent the same variable. And let's see what we have here. Yes, we do have the data set. So the best way to check if the merge worked is just to see if you have any missing values. But apparently we don't. So that means that our inner merge worked. The inner merge is something like the intersection. So it includes the IDs that both data sets share, but it will ignore any IDs that they have different from each other. That's how it works. Okay, and we can, let's say, proc print data equals, we're creating cast val and run. And let's just print it. And we have it, yes! Perfect, we have that table created from the merged datasets. So that's a very, very short introduction to Proc SQL, but I hope it was helpful.